Well, I know you're going to see this, and you don't have to fucking call me because I told you would never call me anyway, so I'm not disappointed. You're a dick for not calling me, but, you know, busy sucking Dusty Rhodes' ass. Steve Carino, the funniest thing about Steve Carino, when he first started out, I used to get pictures in the mail, 8x10s of this young boy. No names on the pictures, it was just a guy from his waist up, this young kid. And I thought somebody was fucking with me, sending me kiddie porn. But they were promo pictures of Steve Carino. That's how young he was when he got into business. But Steve Carino's he's a great interview, he's a great wrestler, he's got a great mind. He's just fucking incredible. And I think you'll eventually see him with one of the bigger feds. I think eventually you'll see him in the WWF. Definitely.
Alan Barry.
Oh, I love Alan Barry. He's like one of me and my son Mark love Alan Barry. I can't say nothing about him other than the fact that he's great. He's in that list there with Mike DiMuzio and Mike Keener, and he's just a great fucking guy. I love Alan Barry. He's one of my favorite people.
Brian Hildebrand.
Brian was one of the first people I started out with in the wrestling business. I used to bring him all the way from Pittsburgh. I love Brian Hildebrand. It's a shame I never made it to his viewing or funeral, but he was just a great guy. My mom, it's funny, when I walked in my mom's house, I walk in her bedroom a couple times, get something or see how she was doing, and it's just pictures of all her grandchildren all over the place. It's like a memorial to her grandchildren. And the only other picture she has there is a picture of her and the Ninja Turtle. It's so fucking funny, That was one of Brian's stories we used to talk about before he passed away. I love Brian. I don't want to miss Brian. I get bummed out just thinking I never want to see him again.
Talk about some promoters. Jim Kentner.
Jim Kentner, his building is what ECW Arena built, is the Paul Heyman. It's another magical building. Jimmy don't use no big names. He's like one of the greatest minds with stories and angles, and he's also an accomplished wrestler. I mean, look what he's done with the Haas brothers. I mean, he's got them at peak now, from training them 3 or 4 times a week. But Jimmy's got that one building, he runs a month, and he sells it out every month, and he does well, and he uses local storylines, and he's the first guy ever to use the Kentnertron. The WWF never used the Titantron. Kentner had that first, and now all these other promoters are trying to get it, they're copying his shit. But the thing is, which just amazes me, and if somebody at the WWF sees this, please hire that guy, because he's got more talent than you can imagine. He will help you so much with storylines, and he's just creative.
Blaine DeSantis.
Blaine's a great guy too. Me and Blaine used to have heat, and over the past couple of years we've bonded over food, our 2 favorite things, and we're great friends, and I love Blaine. He does a good job up there where he's at. And he's just a real good guy who loves the business.
I guess somebody early on that you dealt with, Crockett.
Jim Crockett's the biggest cum stain. He goes on that list. He goes on that list with fucking the other jabronis. I mean, I forgot all about him. Here's a guy that was so rich that he actually looked down on people. This guy at one time was worth $40 million. He owned the New York Mets farm team. Him and his sister, they owned the fucking world. And he just blew his load from being an asshole. See, he didn't like me because he thought I should bend down and lick his boots. I used to bend over and tell him to kiss my fucking ass.
New Jersey's favorite son, the Iron Sheik.
The best, the greatest personality in professional wrestling. If I had another hour, I'd do Iron Sheik stories. He's the fucking best. We love him, man.
Why don't you give us a few?
I'll give one most recent one. I laughed my nuts off. I'll tell you one thing. I had him come to a ring one time, and I said, listen, you gotta learn this dance, the Macarena. I said, Tommy Fierro will teach it to you. So Tommy Fierro actually taught him the Macarena. And when he come out to the ring, he was doing the Macarena, and right through, and he fucked everything up with it, until he butchered it. But they went nuts that I actually had a Macarena contest the next month with the Sheik in it. We packed the place. But his consumption of chemicals are legendary. I mean, it's just, I can tell you a zillion stories about him. They all revolve around
the gimmick,
hashish and opium, yeah. Like this one guy calls him up a couple weeks ago and he says, "Hey Shiki, I want you to work for me down here in Florida." He goes, "All right, Bubba, $750 and an airplane ticket. He goes, send half the money now, half the airplane money. Shiki be there." He goes, "Well, I don't want to pay that much." He says, "I don't want to pay you $400. He goes, "Oh, no way, I don't leave the house for less than that." He goes, "Maybe 500. And he goes, "Nah," he says, "I'll tell you what," he says, "I'll pay 400. I'll give you a little opium and some hashish." He goes, "All right, Bubba, 400 with a little on the side." He's just the greatest fucking guy. I love him. I love the sheep. He's worth, I mean, he don't draw any or nothing, but he's worth bringing in and hanging out with, because he's just a fucking makes you forget about all your problems. And he's just a great fucking guy.
Devin Storm.
Devin Storm, I started him out in the business. I love Devin Storm. I'm glad he's doing well with WCW. He's making a ton of money. He should be with the WWF. They missed the boat on him. He applied to be a physical therapist plus wrestle for them. When they hired that other guy just to do physical therapy, that little skinny guy with the long hair, you know what I'm talking about? They had a little thing on him when they hired him, when they could have hired Storm, who not only wrestles great, but as a physical therapist, and they missed the boat on him. And Devin Storm, so much, when he first started out, I booked him on his very first show. It was up in Hoboken or one of the towns up there. No, it's where Jersey All Pro runs. What's the name of the town they run in all the time?
Bayonne?
Bayonne, yeah. It was Bayonne. I had him on a show up there, and it was the first time I met him, and he gave me that pussy wrestler handshake. I said, "Come on, give me the rest of your fucking hand," you know? And he got in the ring, and this guy's like doing shit. I'm missing a lot of shit, but like I said, this guy is fucking incredible. I said, because he's 6'4", he weighs 250, and he's fucking doing these moves that only a nut would do. So then he started calming down his act a little bit, and I brought him in with Sabu in the Armory in Woodbury in the main event. We sold the place out. It was like one of the greatest matches ever, and he's just changed and done so much for himself that he's not wild and out of control anymore. But for a while, he was totally fucking crazy with that shit. Well, he left me and went to ECW, and I told him, I said, "Chris," I said, "you made a mistake, because I know they're going to outright fuck you." And he didn't want to hear it, and he didn't listen to me, and all they did was just shit on him all the time he was there.
Sabu.
Sabu's a great guy. He's another home run hitter that after he hits it, wanders off in the left field. I was the first guy in the States to use him. He's a good friend. I love Sabu, but sometimes he's just confused, you know, but he's a great guy. I talk to him all the time. We're best friends. I haven't seen him in years, but I'll hook up with him eventually. I'll start probably using him again. Wait till he gets done with his legal problems with ECW.
Abdul the Butcher.
Abby, he's a piece of work. He's probably the greatest hardcore legend ever out there. There's nobody better than Abdul the Butcher when it comes to blood and guts and barbed wire and, you know, power saws and shit like that. He's the best. But I brought him in. The funniest thing about him one time, he'd done a shoot tape, and all he did was mouth me on it and run me down because he thought I was John Arezzi. We got our names mixed up, you know? But I like Abdul. He's another one that's smart to the business and can teach you a lot also.
Chris Benoit.
Chris Benoit is, I like Chris a lot. I used him. He was sitting home in Canada doing nothing. He was just working in Japan, and nobody was using him. WCW stopped using him. He was basically sitting home painting. And I called him up. I said, "Listen, I'm going to get some shows I'm going to use you on." We discussed the money. I brought him in. I must have booked him on about a dozen shows. Some of the best runs I ever had at the Armory were, believe it or not, was Benoit Lawler, Benoit Sabu, Funk Benoit. I mean, we had some great runs there. And one time Paul Heyman calls me up right before the fuck with the belt, and we were talking. He says, "I'm going to steal him from you." I said, "I hope you do. You need more work than I can." I never begrudged. But, you know, he then went with them and he got more exposure in the States, and he became a star. But he was funny because him and his father came in one time. I took him to this Italian restaurant right away. They wanted to go see the Hood. And they thought this thing, you hear shit about the Hood, and it's just nothing but a bunch of fucking junkies and idiots sitting on cars drinking beer and drug dealing, you know. It's like nothing. So, you know, the tour of the Hood in North Philly.
Dick Murdoch.
Dick Murdoch was great. Dick was the craziest motherfucker I ever met in business. I love Dick Murdoch. He was a lot of fun, but he was just nuts. And I'll tell you what, legitimately, he was probably one of the toughest guys in the business. He could probably beat anybody's ass. Dick Murdoch was a... You know, like about Dick Murdoch is what you seen was what you get. There's nothing phony about him. And I'm going to miss him because I really like Dick Murdoch.
Terry Funk.
Terry Funk, he was kind of blackballed from the business when I brought him in. Nobody wanted to use him. And I brought him in, and after I started bringing him as an independent, everybody else started to want to use him. I like Terry Funk a real lot. I mean, he's like a mentor to me. He's another guy. If you have any questions or problems with the business, you can call him. He's a wealth of information. I love Terry. I like his wife Vicky. I mean, he's just a great guy. You know, it's amazing that how two brothers have completely different wives. You know, Vicky's like an angel and a saint, and Marty's a fucking retard.
You're out of the NWA. You start running your own shows. I guess you did a show February, March.
May.
May.
April?
April 29th.
Florida State Wrestling on Don Moore Joe's.
April. You get pleasure out of fucking with people. You say Billy Reel's the new NWA junior heavyweight.
I never said that.
Or that's the
I
story.
did not sanction that match. But Billy Reel is the legitimate NWA junior heavyweight champion because he beat Ratchet and no one had beaten Ratchet up at the time. And I don't give a fuck if the NWA recognizes or not, but Billy Reel is the NWA World's Junior Heavyweight Champion. And he's going to stay for a long time because they ain't got the balls to send somebody into wrestling.
So I guess that sent Howard Brody off the deep end.
Fuck Howard Brody.
Your thoughts on Howard Brody?
Like I told you before, personally, I like Howard Brody. I really do, but business-wise, in my opinion, he's a fucking idiot. You know, nothing about the wrestling business. He's good at paperwork. That's my assessment of him. That's about it. You know, he can fuck up any angle imaginable. Just, you know, and his ideas. I think he's the one that fucking killed the WWF NWA thing because he got pulling up there with ideas and they were getting tired of him calling every 5 minutes. That's what I had heard.
What are your thoughts of how the internet has affected the wrestling business?
Well, I don't go on the internet. The only thing I have to do on the computer is insurance rates. I don't know. 99% of the people that go on the internet are fucking retards anyway and fabricate shit and, you know, not that you guys would go on the internet, I don't know if you do or not, but like, there might be 1 million people out there and you're not, you know, you might be falling that 1%. But they're a bunch of fucking retards and that's perfect. That's the perfect stage for somebody like Gino Moore. You listen, tell gossip and rumors and, you know, oh, I heard King Kong Bundy died last night, you know, and shit like that. And people call me up and say, oh, this guy ripped you on the internet. Who gives a fucking shit? So you go in the chat room on the internet, there's like 5 people there, I think, you know, who cares?
What are your thoughts on the state of independent wrestling in New Jersey?
Well, independent wrestling in New Jersey right now is fucked up. It's like I consider it like the mob. Like, did you watch the movie The Godfather? When he got shot and went up in the hospital and he killed Santino, all the different crime families started feuding and coming out of work and doing goofy shit. That's how it is with professional wrestling in Jersey. Like when I was on top of the game, you know, everybody was under control because they knew I'd fuck with them. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna get back in that position again where these old rinky-dick son of a bitches that shouldn't be promoting. You know, there's only a few guys in the state that should be promoting. I mean, NWA Jersey should promote. Promoter does a lot of shows named Tom Rumsby, good guy. Cousin Luke. You know, there's a few promoters that are good, but there's a lot of them that ain't worth a shit. And I'm gonna get them all under control and start running again and screwing with people.
I guess, yeah, going back to the internet thing, you have your different writers out there.
Let me guess, the biggest jerk off out of all of them, I'll tell you right now, well, there's 2 of them. I forgot, these 2 guys can squeeze 2 people off the list, Bob McGee and Fritz Kapp. Bob McGee, in my opinion, he looks like the Cowardly Lion. You ever see him? He's a real cunt. Kapp is the, you know, here's a guy That, what do you think of a fucking idiot that goes and gets an ECW tattoo on his arm? I mean, who the fuck, you know, I can see somebody like Chris Candido or somebody that works there, some like Balls Mahoney, some other fucking idiot. But here's a guy that all he is a fucking shit star on the internet with 3 listeners. And when I got busted, when Gina Moore signed up with complaints against me, he had a jack off Bob McGee put a copy of the warrant on the internet. And when Gino got busted and had $20,000 bail on him, Fritz Kapp refused to put anything on about him because he struck a deal with Gino Moore. This is all true, where if Gino Moore used Touch of Reality, well, I think that's called, that Bob Starr and Jim the Messenger, that he wouldn't print nothing about him on the internet. And lo and behold, in Wildwood, you got the piece of shit, this should be called a touch of shit, because neither one of them would fucking work. But you know, is this close running down now or what?
No.
All right, keep going.
Dave Meltzer.
I told you, Dave Meltzer's a great guy. Me and him have been friends for 15 years. He's the kind of guy you can call up if you have a question about the business. He's got more insight. He's got more insight than anybody that's never been in the business. Other than a writer, he's unbelievable. He's a good friend too.
What do you feel was your greatest success in the wrestling business?
Promoting within, you know, with some sanity, not going nuts, using guys that can draw while building up young stars. That was the philosophy that, you know, the guy from Larry Sharp, that you get that names to be the hook, to bring the people, and then you have them watch your young guys, and then that was success. And let me tell you something, I've had dogs, and I've had some great shows. I've done some of the best independent shows ever, and I'm going to get back on track with them again. And I run all these little piss ants out of Jersey, you know, guys that shouldn't be promoting these fucking backyard assholes. I might go on a quest to fuck with Combat Zone next. I haven't decided.
What's your biggest failure, you think, in the business? One event.
I've had a lot of failures. The thing that's disappointed me most in the business, not so much a money maker or a loser, that never really was some of the people that you think are your friends that fuck you, guys that you pushed that you think are loyal to you and give a fuck about you. They don't bother with you once you make it to the top. Not that I always had a saying, a man can accomplish almost anything he wants as long as he don't care who gets credit for it. And I've always felt like I never say, well, I got that fucker there, he didn't do, they don't know me now. I don't care about that. They got up there, good for them. If they don't, if I don't get credit for it, I don't give a shit. I just know that what I did helped them, and they know what I did help. But basically, the failure is trusting too many people that you think you're friends, and there ain't too many you can trust in this business.
If you had the opportunity to change any one thing you did in the business, what would it be and why?
Be more focused and take better control of things. Like before, I let too many people do too many things and it fucked things up. But by having better control and remaining more focused and disciplined on it, and that's what's going to help me on the next round.
We'll get back to some of your top five towns you killed.
All right. What do I do right now?
Yeah, right now.
Let's see. I would say Pine Hill, Bordentown, Yardville, one of the biggest buildings I killed was down in Maryland, the one that MCW used to run, near bingo halls. I killed that building. I'm trying to think if we killed anything over in Pennsylvania. I probably did. Oh, I killed the building up there in...
Shenandoah?
No, Shenandoah was good town. Someone else killed that for me. Right up there in off of 95, we're near Rock.
Fairless Hills?
Fairless Hills, yeah, there's another building I killed. That's like the 5.
The top 5 guys you feel up and coming wrestlers. You don't have to limit it to 5.
Billy Real, the Haas Brothers, Inferno Kid, Loki, One guy I really like out there is a young up-and-coming guy. I think he's got a lot of potential. He's got to get bigger and get down to business a little more. Is Ryan Wayne. I like him. Kenner's got a lot of young up-and-coming guys. They're the guys I basically use. They're the guys that I think are going to be stars in the business someday.
With the state of New Jersey trying to legislate it, you've been through both sides.
Right.
When it was a free territory to run and then also when they were legislated. What are your thoughts on that?
I think they should have regulation for pro wrestling. It would get rid of all this backyard shit. It would keep these little neophyte promoters that can promote a show in their backyard. It would get rid of all the unsuccessful promoters and the guys that know what they shouldn't be in the fucking business anyway.
What are your present goals in wrestling?
I want to get back in it. I want to cut down basically on the number of shows that I do and do better, more quality shows. That's the thing I have to do until it gets really back up. It's on a downward trend. Independents are basically, a lot of them are dead. And what killed them is these little assholes that don't know how to promote, you know. The guys that do know how to promote aren't promoting, you know. Like, look at NWA Jersey, they have no talent. I mean, you know. I mean, they have Devin Storm, they bring him in Crowbar, but who the hell, you know what I mean? Who else do you want to see on their show? I mean, it's the same thing. Axel Rotten, Chris Candido, they're old ECW guys. People don't want to see them outside of that realm. They want to see them, you know, they're just like, they don't mean nothing anymore. Not to pick on, I'm just using a couple of them names because no one wants to see them, you know. And they're pushing like their champ's the guy to Equalizer. He's another dipshit. You know, he's come to my shows wearing ECW shirts just to throw him out of the building.
Right now you call yourself basically the promoter in exile. Why?
Right. Well, basically I am in exile right now until I latch on to another federation and get some shit going. I'm doing stuff with me and Don's situated with Garden State Wrestling Alliance, and he's going to do well with it. And I plan on doing everything with him pretty much in the future.
You talked about your son-in-law during the video,
Right.
Mark. Now that he's involved in the business, what impact will your past actions, practices have on his ability to be successful?
He's got my, well right now he's going to go to Temple, he's gearing up for that, he's not really screwing with wrestling. But Mark has my viciousness in him, and my ability, like, you know, he learned from the master, but he's more controlled than I am, you know?
Any
more
last,
level-headed than I am.
any last comments, thoughts?
Nah, just like I said, I'm back and getting shit started up again, and all these little assholes that are running throughout Jersey now. You know, have fun while they ask, because they're going to be much longer. And I'll be back being the Don Corleone of Jersey wrestling, you know. And like I said, there's a couple promotions that I want to start seriously fucking with, just for shits and giggles, you know. It don't cost me nothing, but you know, it's a lot of fun.
All right, thank you very much.
Great. You're welcome. Oh, that's a great story. Gino's mother was a real nice woman, honest to God. I really like Carmel, even though he says I stole her pain medication and I ripped her off, which is a lie. But one time he told her he would take her out to for Mother's Day dinner. He says, I'm going to take you out for Mother's Day dinner. Well, what happened was they go to this place to eat, and everybody's got to pay the same thing because the only place he eats is at buffets. So what happens is the check comes. Everybody kicks in like $12. So he goes, all right, Carmel, where's your money? She goes, oh, Jeannie, I thought you were taking me out for Mother's Day dinner. He says, I did. He says, I'm taking you out, but I didn't say I was going to buy for you. I mean, you know, a cheap prick.
Another good one. There's a supposed story about cookies in your ass.
Oh, yeah, the cookies in my ass story. Well, there's a legendary timekeeper, Frank Chill. He worked for Warner Brothers. He's a public relations guy. Well, we were going down to Maryland to a show one time, and Frank always liked to bring cakes and cookies and drinks along for the ride. Well, Gino had a bed in the back of his van, and I was tired as hell, and I told him to put it out, I wanted to sleep, and I was out cold. I just, all of a sudden, like about an hour later, I wake up, and I feel something in the crack of my ass, and I reach down to a pair of shorts on, and they were saying cookies. As if Stucky's in my ass, and I threw him on the floor. It was Frank Chili trying to rib me. So I threw him on the floor, and Frank Chili goes, "Hey, Gino, want some cookies?" He goes, "Yeah, brother, give them to me. Eat them." It was unbelievable. But anything else?